everybody. We're here for another week of Unscripted. And this week we started our Reclaim the Table series.
We did.
So my first question for you is, was there any food or anything like that growing up that was normal in your house and you didn't know it was weird until you left your house? So for example, in our house, I thought everyone did this, but whenever we had tacos, we would also have sloppy joes. So it was sloppy joe and taco night. My mom would make the hamburger, and half of the meat would be for sloppy joes and half the meat would be for tacos. Oh. It wasn't until I went to college that I found out that's normally two different meals for people, not the same dinner night.
Wow.
Sounds good. I want to come have dinner at your house because I like both of those pretty good.
I'm out on sloppy joes.
See, I always ate the tacos. I never ate. My sister ate the sloppy joe, and I always ate the taco.
Maybe that's why you had it on the same night.
I think because half the family was sloppy joe, and half the family was taco. My mom was like, "I'm not going to fight with half of you. Both, you all get something."
Both are ground beef based.
Yes, that was exactly what my mom did. I'm sure it was.
Mm-hmm. No,
I don't think I don't remember any weird combos or anything like that. But I do remember. When I got to college, it was the first time I had ever had a bagel. And I thought those were very, I don't know if I'd use the word exotic, but I was like, what's a bagel? And so someone's like, it's a here. And this is great.
This is yummo.
Yeah.
Now, I remember I used to, and I still to this day, I love Kraft macaroni and cheese. Not the powdered kind. I like the stuff that you take out of the pouch. Mm-hmm. And so that's what my mom made that. And whenever I'd go to somebody's house and they had homemade macaroni and cheese, I thought that was gross. Because if it wasn't Kraft, I didn't
only wanted it
like
out of the box.
Exactly.
If you put
Isn't that the tagline?
It's got to be processed, people. Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
But that was weird to me. I was like, oh, you can make macaroni and cheese.
It doesn't just have to come from a box. Yes. Well, I think everyone kind of has those unique little just like that, not discovering what a bagel is until you leave the house. But I love that we talk about this week and we talk about, you talk about this pretty extensively, that a lot of Jesus's ministry happens around a table, and a lot of that teaching happens around a table. So when we think about the sermon series being called Reclaim the Table, what did that mean for you? What are we reclaiming it for, or what are we reclaiming it from?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, reclaiming kind of means taking it back. It's not something new. It's kind of reestablishing that which we has been held as important. And part of why it was important to Jesus is because so much relationship building took place around the table. It was a chance for him to get to know people, for a chance for him to get to share with them who they were and what they were created to be. I mean, the table just gives us a sense of not only that tradition, but where we fit in the family story, in our personal story, and in God's story, to me. And we're just so busy as a culture, and this is just now that things that, I don't know that they've slowed down still, but, now that we've kind of had this chance to rethink a lot of stuff, let's not just stop with our schedules and what it means to go into a store or to get it delivered curbside, but let's go even further and look at these traditions that were held as important in Jesus's day, and maybe use this as a time to reclaim it.
Yeah. So what's funny to me is that when we originally designed this series, it was a long time ago. We put a lot of thought into it and what it would look like and why we were doing it. And then last year at some point when we discovered the Mr. Rogers movie was coming out with Tom Hanks, that we wanted to do a series around that, and which I loved that series. But so we booted this series until this year, not knowing about the pandemic, not knowing about all that stuff. And so one of the things that I love about what we're talking about in the ministry that Jesus had around the table is how now our tables a lot of times are our dashboards in our car. We're on the go so much, just like you said, it's this culture of busyness that we were caught up in. And then the pandemic happens, and we all of a sudden have to slow down.
Yeah.
And how many of us made sourdough bread or tried new recipes, maybe homemade mac and cheese for the first time, and discovered like what it meant to be together more often with your family around the table, for those of people who had that opportunity with their family. And so now things are slowly getting back to the way they were, not by any means what they were a year ago, but inch by inch we're getting there. And I kind of wonder if this is a good series for right now to just kind of be don't forget, this is still important. Once we're out of the pandemic, whenever that will be, this is still a big deal.
Yeah.
And
community's still going to exist.
Right.
and it needs to exist.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things, because we had talked about, I think we developed this out in 2018, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So then we pushed it off. And one of the things I worried about when we decided to do it now, I was like, wow, but so often we can't come around the table the way we used to. So is it going to have the same impact? But I even talked about it this weekend. We can't let that be our excuse. We still need to honor, develop, live into these table traditions. They look very different than they may have a year ago, but it's still important to build those relationships. Community needs to still happen. So I was like, actually, I think now is the perfect time to talk about this.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, even though that table looks different, whether it be like a car dashboard or whatever, I love it that you're saying that it still needs to exist, even if it's taking on maybe like a new form.
Yep.
In a way.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, what do you think it means to have a seat at that table? When you hear that, what comes to mind for you?
Well, for me, I think of the people, the least, the last, the lost that Jesus talked about. You know, so oftentimes people, and we're talking metaphorically, they don't feel welcome to the table. They don't feel welcome in a church, or they don't feel welcome in a class of society or what have you, because they don't measure up to whatever that stick of success looks like. And so, to have Jesus, to have a seat at the table means that you're included, you're accepted, you're loved, no matter who you are or where you've been or what you've done. And, Jesus just, he was invitational in regards to come and eat with me all the time, whether it was Zacchaeus, the tax collector, or, he didn't invite the woman to the well to have a dinner with him, but he had a conversation with her and built a relationship with her. So, he didn't look at the exterior of maybe how society viewed. He looked different. He looked at them differently. So, I think maybe that's what I think of. Having a seat at the table means to be seen as God created you versus how culture may see you or how your peer group may see you.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to remember when they weren't welcomed, when they didn't feel included. For me, I remember in junior high, I'd get my food from the cafeteria and I'd go to where I was going to sit and hoping like, okay, will I be able to sit with these friends or with these people? Is that going to be okay? Just all of the insecurities I was dealing with, that sort of thing, which came right after, okay, please don't trip in front of the cute girls. That was the first part. But, and so there were times when I sat down and it didn't go the way I had hoped, that I was worried about it. That's how it turned out. And so I think that it's important for us to remember, like, what does it feel like to be someone who's not included, and how we should go out of our way to say, hey, there's a spot right here for you. I mean, how wonderful that feels for someone to hear, we've got a spot right here for you, and to have the foresight to think through that. And I think that was what Jesus was so good at, is like Zacchaeus, he pointed at him and said, hey, I want to eat with you. It was,
I remember, I love that. I'm so thankful you brought that up, Brian. And I've told this story in a sermon before, of how one time I felt so excluded. I was at a conference for churches, for pastors of larger churches, and I'm sitting around a table, and large churches typically have male pastors. I mean, that's just, female pastors of large churches is just not something you see on the regular.
Sure.
And I can remember the day was coming to a close, and people were going around the table saying, "Hey, let's go have dinner over here. We're all getting together here." And the invitation was not extended to me. And I don't know that it was because I was a female, but that's how it felt. I felt so excluded, and it hurt. It hurt to know that I'm not literally allowed at that table, or I wasn't invited. Mm-hmm. And so if you've ever been in that position, you don't ever want to do that to someone else. You don't ever want them to feel that way. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because that's good to remember.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot going on at the church right now. So what are some things that have you excited that is inviting people into that table and into the community? What are some things that you're excited about right now in the life of the church?
Well, we've got an alpha group that's starting up on the 17th, 8:30 p.m. On Zoom. And alpha's let's see, how do you describe it? It's a program that is designed for people who are spiritually curious, people who kind of want to know more about Jesus, but maybe kind of are leery about the church as an organization, whether they've been hurt by a church in the past or just feel like, it's not really for me. And we've got an incredible leader. Ted is going to be leading it. And for people, it's just an easy way for people to ask questions and to learn. And it doesn't have a lot of pressure. What do you think about this? Have you ever thought about it this way? That sort of thing. And it leads to a lot of great questions that get answered, which lead to more questions a lot of times, but also really good community, and people kind of see Jesus without maybe they don't have to worry about other people judging them if they're asking the wrong question or that sort of thing. And it's something that started over in England, I think in the 1970s, I think, and it's this international thing. And we've got a leader that is going to be doing it on Zoom. I've got some people that I know of that are interested all the way out in Portland. Hi, Adam.
Caitlin. Yay, Portland. I want to go there.
That want to jump in and be a part of it. And so I just think that that's really cool that, it's going to be on this platform that we didn't know anything about a year ago, even though Zoom was there. Wish I had purchased large amounts of stock in Zoom.
Too.
And now we can use it to share with people that don't live just in our metro area.
Definitely. Yeah. And we'll definitely drop a link in this too for Alpha if that's something you guys are interested in too.
It is. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe for me, I don't know if it's because of the meetings I've been in today, but we are in full swing for Christmas and preparation and the events leading up to that. And, in spite of the pandemic, we're still going to celebrate with a Christmas cantata. It's going to look different, but that's okay. The children's ministry has a great event planned. It's like a journey to Jesus's manger that's going to take place throughout the entire building of the church for the most part, not the whole building, but that sounds super fun. And we're just, like I said, in the throes of planning for Christmas Eve. And it is, I don't know, in the midst of a year where nothing has felt normal, it's nice to be planning for Christmas.
Yeah.
And Jesus cannot be born fast enough, in my opinion. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you asked for things, I think it was plural. Sure. And you said a few, but there's also a group that's going to be starting next Monday, the 9th, called, it's a book study group on how to be an anti-racist. And it's going to be led by Marcy Gregg. She is someone who is on one of the worship teams in our worship center. And it's a book that has been received pretty well around different circles, but racial justice issues are still going. Yeah. And I'm excited that that's going to be a study where people can read the book and just kind of explore like the concepts and ideas in that, and do it in a safe place.
Exactly.
With people you can build trust with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So many times those kind of issues you want to share with other people what your thoughts are, but you might be tentative because what if they blow up at you, or what if they don't understand you? And so it's a place where you can have a safe space where you don't have to worry about your relationship being kind of deteriorating away over a touchy subject.
That's so cool, because we talked about this last week in Unscripted, how it's that relational component that helps to bridge the gap sometimes between two different thoughts on a topic. And if I can understand why you're coming from the viewpoint that you are, I can gain empathy. And so it's in a small group environment where you can have some of the conversation, but that day it can feel like, oh, these are touchy subjects. But we got to begin with the conversation. I mean, the conversation needs to happen. And so this is a great book. The author is Ibram Kendi. I've read it. It's a great book. He's got some wonderful points and things to think about. It's very thought-provoking. So I'm pretty excited that this group is taking place.
Yeah. And that's also on Zoom.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and we have books here at the church. So if that's something you're interested in and want a copy, let us know, because we can make that happen too before it starts. So.
Awesome.
And you might say this at the end, so if I do, and I'm stealing your thunder, Emily, I'm sorry.
Go for it.
You can email any of the three of us about any questions with those things. And
absolutely.
we'll point you to the right people if we don't have those answers. So.
And they're on Zoom. You can do these studies in your jammies if you want to.
Yeah.
I love that.
Or at least formal up top and then jammies on the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the fact that, I mean, for a whole sermon series where we're talking about building this community and reclaiming the table, I love that we're having these groups that are embodying that and saying, let's build this community and let's do this. And so I think that's great, and I'm excited about those getting started here.
Right, yeah.
So, very good. Any other thoughts on Reclaim the Table that are burning in your mind?
Well, we got some fun stuff coming up this weekend. We've got little tools to help have table conversation that's going to be coming up, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. I mean, you said it best. I can't give it away because I don't want to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What are you talking about?
Very good. Well, we will be back next week talking about the next week of Reclaim the Table, but we'll have those links for all the groups in the comments below. And then we've also launched all of our Christmas dates. So you can get on our website and you can see all of our Christmas offerings. But until then, we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.